What's up, y'all? This your girl Chelsea. I go by model Chelsea Talise in the fashion industry in Louisville, Kentucky. 502 Stand Up. I'm also a mental health therapist in the state of Kentucky. And today we are here to speak again on Beauty and Brains podcast, Cognitions of the Creatives. Today I have my wonderful friend, my best friend, my girl, my road dog, my day one. I could just go on and on with me today to accompany us on the episode for International Persons with Disabilities Awareness Day, which takes place on December 3rd. So please, everyone, give me a hand with welcoming DestineeRai to the podcast today. Woo! Welcome, bestie.
Thank you
I'm
so
so
much for
happy to
having
have
me.
you. Yes, absolutely. Would you like to add on to your introduction? I'm sorry, y'all. Also, DestineeRai holds a BSW, which is a bachelor's in social work. She is a R&B artist, singer, and songwriter in the state of Kentucky. From Lexington, though, y'all. She's not from the 502. So she is representing a different city in Kentucky. So again, happy to have you, DestineeRai. You can go ahead and add on to your introduction if you'd like to.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Chelsea, thank you so much for having me on this amazing podcast.
Sure.
I feel honored and I'm so excited to be here and with you guys today. Like you said, my name is DestineeRai. I am a recording artist, singer, songwriter, performer, entrepreneur, go-getter, hustler.
All of that.
I am from Lexington, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
And also, obviously, representing Kentucky all over.
Mm-hmm.
And I also hold, like you said, a bachelor's in social work, where I also, have my passions in the social work field.
Yes.
So again, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm so excited, y'all. We've been talking about this for it might be a year now. But I knew that Destiny was going to be on this podcast for a while. So I'm super excited with you, Des, that we are finally doing this. Again, we're talking about International Persons with Disabilities Awareness Day. Would you like to talk a little bit about your personal disability?
Yes. With you saying that, we were talking about this for almost a year. Mm-hmm. So I had almost a year to prepare for this moment. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I am someone who is living with multiple sclerosis, mm-hmm. which is basically a disability or autoimmune disease that affects the inner parts of like my persons, mm-hmm. in the sense of like my nerve system and how that affects like my body and mm-hmm. my day-to-day mobility issues and concerns, as well as some cognitive issues that I may have when there's like a moment of flare up within my multiple sclerosis.
Yeah. So is that like problems with memory?
So with my experience, it's more so problems with connecting like my words and sentences with what I want to say. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes I find myself speaking faster than I think, or vice versa, and then kind of like stuttering over my words, which I feel like you have experienced me in those moments where it's like, I know what I want to say, I know how I want to say it, it just comes off kind of like a stutter and like, what the heck? Yeah. So I have to like slow myself down, get myself together and just speak effortlessly and confidently, so someone on the receiving end will understand what I'm trying to say.
For sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. So I just want to start off by saying this episode is for people who are dealing with MS. People who are dealing with multiple sclerosis, whether you have just been diagnosed or you've been dealing with it for quite some time, or if you know someone who has been diagnosed with MS and you are a part of their support system or a part of their community and village. So I thank you all for listening ahead of time. And Destiny, thank you for sharing such a personal piece with us. And with that being said, I know you kind of went into what in a nutshell, what that looks like to deal with MS. But I want to know, what is the most challenging part about dealing with a disability that others cannot see? Because I do think that when people think of disability, they think of a wheelchair or a cane, or some disformity that can take place physically.
Mhm.
However, MS, or at least from the outside looking in, and seeing you, obviously I'm looking at you and I'm like, well, you're killing the game, and what
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
it that you deal with? You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure that that is like definitely layered as far as having a disability, but showing up, your best self at all
Mhm.
times. So what would you say is the most challenging part about dealing with a disability that others cannot see?
Yeah. Ugh. So first of all, thank you for that question.
Mhm.
I think for me, my community and like my close friends and family, they see me on the grind,
Mhm.
moving and being able to go from here and there, and having the ability to just perform and be on stage.
Mhm.
It's more so like the general population. They may have their own perception of you, right?
Mhm.
When they see you work hard, you staying busy, and for myself in particular, when I don't complain, a lot of people may assume that you are okay.
Mm.
But in actuality, MS affects the body. So I'm tired. I'm worn out,
Yeah. Yeah.
and at the end of the day, when I go home and when I lay my head at night, I'm exhausted
Mm.
physically.
Mhm.
And it's something that you really can't explain because everyone has to go to work. Everyone
Yeah.
has to make their money.
Mhm.
Everyone has to take care of the children or
Mhm.
go to the gym or whatever the case may be that, they are moving their body. Whereas I have to do the same, but I
Mhm.
cannot, spend every day complaining about what aches,
Yeah. Yeah.
what pains me. So I think not understanding MS and
Mhm.
having the perception that, oh, Destiny's okay,
Mhm.
is the most like frustrating part about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's I don't want to put words in your mouth, but looking from the outside in, it's almost like living a double life.
Yes.
Like um being very performative, being very
Mm-hmm.
punctual, being very inclusive, right? Like you
Yeah.
are very um hell, just amazing in everything that you do. And I might even be guilty, as your friend, of thinking like, Destiny is killing the game. Like you are definitely someone who I'm inspired by, and so I'm glad that we have
Thank
the
you.
opportunity to just talk a little bit deeper on what it looks like to actually have internal wars, or internal storms when it comes to disabilities, and what that looks like to be confident in knowing when you're okay and when you're not.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning it's almost like living a double life because I never
Yeah.
really thought about it like that
Mhm.
until this very moment.
Mm.
And I think it's more so because like I don't have time to make an excuse. I
Yeah.
don't have time to blame my diagnosis on the reasons why I can't do X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
If I mentally, have positivity, thinking,
Mhm.
positive thinking, then I know that I am able bodied to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
So, thank you for bringing that to my attention. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I might. It can be like a double life.
Yeah.
It's because I have to.
Mhm.
You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Definitely. And then it's almost like, not being able to quote unquote lean on a disability that others can see, right? Because when people do have, like I said, wheelchairs, canes, or physical disformities,
Mm-hmm.
people may feel like they deserve more grace, right? Because you can see what they're dealing with. You can see the limp in their walk, or you can see any types of struggle that might be going on in their day to day, or maybe even like a caregiver, that's around
Mm-hmm.
during their times of need. And so to deal with a disability where none of those resources are quite needed, but still to the extreme of this is a disability, right? This is something that impacts our day-to-day life, our day-to-day routine, and maybe even our relationships. I wouldn't say it's impacted ours, or anything
Yeah.
to that extent, but when you're dealing with something internally, that impacts your relationship with self, and so then it could lead into impacting relationships with others. And I'm not necessarily talking about you, Des, just talking to our community here who's
Yeah.
listening, about persons with disabilities, that we cannot see. There could be an internal war going on that may impact how we deal with our village and how we deal with our community. And I'm just bringing that to light so that you all can feel encouraged to have the talks, if you need to, so that everybody's on the same page. You don't have to put on a face. You don't have to be so performative, when you're not up for it. When your
Right.
body is saying otherwise, it's okay to listen to your body. Absolutely, you should listen to your body.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to end that question on that note, and we can move on to the next. But is there anything you wanted to say, in regards to that first question before we move on?
Um, Not really. Just more so like if don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
If you are out there listening, don't assume that someone does not have a struggle
Yeah.
because you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone
Mm-hmm.
lives their life differently,
Mm-hmm.
and every disability looks different.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Thank you for saying that. Okay. So my next question is, how has your disability impacted your career as an artist?
Oh Lord! So,
Loaded.
that question is very very loaded. Because I mean, just kind of like piggybacking off of like the almost living a double life and being
Mm-hmm.
exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I have noticed, in my personal experience is when it comes to songwriting
Mm-hmm.
and really locking in on my pen and writing new musical content, in my brain I know what I want to say, I know
Mm-hmm.
how to say it, but when it comes out on paper or when it comes out vocally, it sounds like, what the hell,
Mm.
what did I just say, what am I
Mhm.
writing? So I have to really clock in and dissect what I want to say on this song in particular.
Mhm.
On top of that, having the mentality of, yes, I'm writing music for my community. Yes, I'm writing music for my fans,
Mhm.
but they also have to understand where I'm coming from. And when
Yeah.
I create and produce an amazing
Mhm.
song, I have to be confident that I, relay the message properly.
Mhm.
I relay the message to my community to where they'll understand it and they'll vibe with it too.
Yeah.
So on top of, struggling like cognitively, that is also a struggle with writing music.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's one thing that I struggle with within my music career while I'm living with MS.
Mhm.
And also, the physical parts of having MS, I oftentimes fear, like when I step foot on stage,
Mm.
I fear that I perform well
Mhm.
without having a flare up in that moment.
Mm.
And a physical flare up basically looks like, kind of losing vision in one eye,
Mm.
having tingliness in my toes and my fingertips and in my, my right side of my body.
Mhm.
So I just pray that, when I step foot on that stage, I hope nothing with my
Nothing.
MS shows.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even, forgetting lyrics on stage. I know
Mm.
every artist, the greats, the legends, they also forget lyrics, but I think mentally I fear that that would happen to me because
Yeah.
of my MS.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
wanting to produce music, wanting to write good musical content, wanting to
Mhm.
perform amazingly,
Mhm.
and in my gut and like in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, my MS cannot flare up right now. It must not. So that's
Yeah.
something that I don't think I've ever shared that with you actually. That
Mm.
I struggle with when I perform, when I'm in the
Yeah.
studio writing music. So yeah, that was
Wow.
loaded, but
Yeah, no, you answered it perfectly. And I don't think you shared that with me. I'm over here getting emotional. I don't think you've shared that. But I thank you for sharing that. And I just again I'm just so inspired by you because I just I don't know, like I remember the last time that you performed. Um say the name of that event
Yeah,
again.
yeah, it was the Roots and Heritage Festival, hosted in Lexington, Kentucky.
Yes. Oh my God, y'all. I've seen Destiny perform quite a few times, and I am the annoying best friend that will sing the lyrics when the crowd is whack. But also, of course, when the crowd is doing what they're supposed to do. But that was my first time seeing Destiny perform live, and it was just wow. It was just
Yeah.
wow. Like I called her the next day and I was like, "How are you feeling?" Because I'm still on a high from that performance. Like it was just so amazing. But I'm more of a live type of girl, live music type of girl. And it was just such a big event. Excuse me. And it was so just the energy was so high, and
Yes.
I just remember you getting emotional on the stage toward the end of
Mhm.
your performance, and it was what, about an hour long?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was a really long performance, and you killed it from beginning to end.
Thank you.
But just having this additional information, on maybe like what your preparation was like before the show, what your
Yeah,
prayers sounded like before the show, what your fears or concerns were before the show. And it really just speaks to how much you practice, and how much muscle memory comes in, I'm sure, because you're dealing with nerves and you're dealing with a disability, right? And then you're dealing
yeah.
with just the natural flow of things when it comes to show day. And so, just saying that songwriting is something that can be a struggle for you. Um, it just feels like you are so gifted, to the point where
Oh,
these
thank you.
things that concern you, or the things that take up your space in your mind before you perform, you're just untouchable, and I'm just in awe of you, every time that
That's
we
beautiful. Thank
we
you.
talk about you and your journey. And I know that this is something that you've been struggling with for a while, or I won't even say struggling with, you've been dealing with, for a while, and it's never been something that stopped you, and so I
Yeah.
just, again, I know I keep saying it and I sound like a broken record. I'm really just inspired by you and the courage, that it takes, because I also do know, the flare ups come, and there are days that aren't the best, but
Yeah.
when you are really called, to be walking in your purpose. And I know this isn't a question that we had on today for the
Yeah.
for the interview, but I'm wondering, like, do you think your MS would be more prevalent in a space where you didn't have passion?
Oh, that is a good question. I think when I was first diagnosed, I would say no because I was so confused.
Mm-hmm.
I was so like the why me mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was diagnosed, I was probably just going to deal with it. If I wasn't in the music industry, I was probably just going to go deal with it, get my
Mm-hmm.
infusions every 6 months, and just live my life like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think after accepting the fact and still having
Mm.
that motivation in my heart, I
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, okay. Well, there is a purpose.
Yes.
I am a vessel. I do need to speak out on this because there's going to be people who look like me,
Mm-hmm.
who have ambitions like me,
Mm-hmm.
who has dreams like me,
Yes.
who also may have MS as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they need that person. And I'm going to pat myself on the back. They need someone who is positive, who has great
Yes.
energy, who is just a dope person all around
Absolutely.
to look up to. And I was like, okay, that's me. That's
Mm-hmm.
me.
It is.
So I would say back when I was diagnosed, no, I'll probably just deal with it. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's
Mm-hmm.
like I know I have a purpose and there's a
Yes.
reason why I have MS. There's a reason why I have this desire in my heart, so I have to act on it. I have to be obedient and continue to live my life and, achieve goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Regardless. Regardless. I love that. I want to also just give you your flowers on um not what's the words I'm looking for? Not becoming consumed to the pressure, right? Of getting all of your words right when you're writing, or the pressure of having a perfect performance, and I'm sure outside of disability, most artists have fucked up during a performance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Sure. So it's just like that is the inevitable. But really just not being consumed over the pressures of being perfect, or over the pressures of trying to present as someone who doesn't, battle a disability on day to day. And I think that when you have such a platform, or when you have a following on top of concerns or thoughts of fears, when it comes to your disability as an artist, and continuing to give your best version of self, and knowing the right timing of things, right? Like when to drop an album, when to record an album. And I'm sure it takes a lot of scheduling or rescheduling, when it comes to how you're feeling, if you even want to go to the studio. And it might be a lot of willingness, but not a lot of ability, right? To be able to give your full self. And so I guess I'm kind of just highlighting the importance of self-awareness, when it comes to dealing with disabilities as far as an artist, knowing when to push yourself and when to just take care of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you, DestineeRai, for giving us your best self at all times. Yeah, it
You're
is.
welcome.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that you brought up just having self-awareness. So I just want to mention to my fellow individuals who are also living with MS, be kind to yourself and be patient with yourself, because it's something that I had to learn. I had to learn to slow down. I had to learn to be okay with taking a break, or okay with, not producing music on my time. It'll happen when it happens. So I just want to encourage everyone out there to just be loving yourself, be kind to yourself, show yourself grace. And your creative side will flow when in that right time.
Yeah. And you're not neglecting anything, if you decide to take a break. If you don't decide to take a break, then you are neglecting yourself, so don't feel that you're letting anyone down, or that, if you take this break that things will not come to fruition. That's just not true. So yeah, I do think we could all do a better job of putting ourselves first, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry. I talk about this a couple times throughout the season, but that grind culture is something else.
It is. It definitely is. Because you forget what you need to nurture.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You really do.
I still do it. I still am learning to nurture myself. It's like, oh, that's okay, slow down.
And that's a skill, like learning self-nurturing, or learning like self-care, and knowing that self-care is not luxury, like this is something that we're entitled to, to take care of yourself. And it's something that
100%.
we're allowed to take time to do, right? Like if you're at work physically, but mentally you're not, go home.
Yeah, 100%. Come back tomorrow.
Try again tomorrow. Like you just can't, like if you're just sitting there and that you're mentally elsewhere, that is a sign, to put you first. So I really like that question. I'm glad we kind of went a little bit deeper
Me too.
into that one. My last question is, in what ways has your MS changed your perspective on life?
Oh, another loaded question. I appreciate all these questions.
Mm-hmm.
So my diagnosis has changed my perspective on life. Just to not take a lot of things for granted. I know that prior to my diagnosis, oh yeah, I could sing, I could perform, I could write songs, and I really wasn't taking it as serious as I knew it was in my heart. And after, doing my research on individuals with MS and just looking at the life trajectory and, the long-term effects on it, I said to myself, I was like, well, I'm young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and I was also young when I got diagnosed, but I'm still able. I'm still mentally there.
Yes.
I'm still physically there. So why not go all in? Why, I don't want to take life for granted. I don't want to take my opportunities for granted. So, when I also had my first flare up after my diagnosis, I said to myself, oh, this is what I was feeling, being the reason why I was in the hospital. I didn't know it was MS at the time. I just thought my vision was going out because I was getting a headache, or my vision was going out, or my body was being weak because of I was just tired and exhausted. But after, the diagnosis came, I said, oh, I need to do better with my life. I need to do better with my health. I need to do better with, singing and performing and, showing up for my community.
Yeah.
And I can't do that if I'm just down and out, if I'm taking a lot of things for granted, if that makes sense. So I think, just changing my mentality on life with someone living with MS has changed tremendously.
Wow. The word that stuck out to me was like acceptance after a diagnosis. And just as a mental health therapist, I feel that that is so important, because, hell, as a therapist, I fear telling people their diagnosis sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I know what that can do, to the mind. And I know that we as people can take that and have a whole vision of what our life can or cannot be within 2 minutes, right? Because we just learned this new information about self. But it's not a life sentence, right? Like it's not something that because we've learned this information that everything changes. You have to show up differently. You're not allowed to do this anymore. And right, like it's not stipulations. It's more so a better understanding of self and how to navigate through life, right? And so
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
never when you receive a diagnosis, I'm just talking to everybody here. When you receive a diagnosis, any news is good to know, right? About yourself. It's not necessarily, well, I'm not going to sit here and minimize anyone's situation. So I'm not going to say it's not a big deal. However, it's good to compartmentalize at this point, right? When we know that we have a diagnosis, but we also know there's more life to be lived with the diagnosis. Like our life doesn't end when we know that we're dealing with something. If anything, it becomes more clear on how to live the rest of our lives, right? And what that looks like to have the resources that we need to have a fulfilling life, a life that doesn't feel lonely, a life that is filled with community and people who are there to see us become the best versions of ourselves or see us evolve, so I just wanted to point out that it can be scary to receive a diagnosis, and you mentioning that the first step or one of them is acceptance, right, of that, because if we're continuing to be in denial, or be upset that we have this diagnosis, or try to change who we are because we have this diagnosis. And I'm not saying that none of that isn't normal, right? Like it's
Yeah.
normal to experience all of those things, but eventually we get to acceptance, and once we get there, it's like, all right, you're not going nowhere, neither am I. So
Absolutely.
what do we got to do to still have the life that I envisioned before you got here? You being the
Yeah.
diagnosis, okay? So I'm just glad that you mentioned that acceptance is one of the things that is really needed, in order to continue on with your life, to have a sustainable life with someone, as someone who deals with disabilities, and
Mhm.
to not take a lot of things for granted. I think when you have a disability, this is insight that not everyone experiences, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't have a disability, or if you haven't had any type of medical emergency in life, you're kind of just experiencing life and knowing that, possibly feeling that it'll end whenever it ends, right? And not seeing the realistic view that every day should be lived to the fullest, because we never know, right? If you've never had a scare, if you've never had a diagnosis, this is our acknowledgement and, being informative to you all, that treat every day like it's your last.
Mhm.
Like make sure you tell people you love them. Make sure you do that random adventurous whatever. Jump
Yeah.
out the plane. Whatever that looks like. Don't take anything for granted. And I do think that people with disabilities are more keen to that motto, of not taking anything for granted, versus those who are privileged enough to not have experienced a disability, or, like I said, some medical emergency or anything of that extent. But don't take anything for granted and live every day like it's your last. Is something that stuck with me as well when you were talking
Absolutely.
about how it changed your perspective on life.
Yes, absolutely.
I like that. I like that a lot. Um, I want to say one more thing when it comes to perspective of life. Um, Being careful on who you share, your diagnoses with.
Oh yeah.
Um, just because, especially the timing, right? Like if you just found out something and you're still struggling to wrap your mind around it, maybe, keep it really
Close.
intimate, with who you share it with, until you have navigated this for yourself, because it's hard to say that you're dealing with something and you're still trying to process it, and then having to deal with everybody else's processes and everybody else's thoughts about the situation or about the
Mhm.
disability, or if you are trying to come to the phase of acceptance and someone's in denial of your diagnosis, that can throw off your journey.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that when it comes to perspectives, and keeping your energy protected whenever you go through new phases of diagnoses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add on that?
The only I guess one thing that I would add on to it is like just piggybacking off of keeping your diagnosis close to home
Mm-hmm.
and very intimate with your trusted loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Should you, if you're out there listening, should you be in a situation where you shared your diagnosis with someone and they're questioning you?
Mm.
Well, you did this. Well, you can still do
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm.
Please, 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 I'm gonna go back to be kind to yourself
Mm.
and reevaluate your community.
Yeah.
Reevaluate who is around you,
Mm-hmm.
because no one should question you
Mm.
on what you can and cannot do or what you have done,
Yeah.
because you are someone with MS and it does not look what the quote unquote normalcy
Mm-hmm.
would look like for someone else.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
good.
just protect your peace on that.
Mm-hmm.
Protect your personal information on that. And if
Mm-hmm.
you have to, step away from someone, because I have had to done it before. I've done it
Mm.
before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then that person is not or shouldn't be in your community.
Yeah.
Revisit that relationship, revisit that friendship, or whatever the case may be, and go from there.
Yeah. Because you can't afford it. You can't afford bad apples.
Right. Or you can't afford to continue to explain yourself when you're still processing it. You're still living with it. Still going through it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And don't put a timeline on what it takes for you to process this new change.
Every day.
Yeah. It's
the everyday process.
It's an everyday process. So if you are getting to the point where you're like, I don't want to tell nobody, you ain't got to.
Exactly.
It's your business. But I will say, it's always good to have a village. You know, you do need a support person or maybe even an accountability partner, right? If we're dealing with a disability, then there's probably some things that we shouldn't be doing anymore, you know, as far as lifestyle and being able to help us maintain symptoms a little bit more, or flare ups, you know, a little bit more. So I do think even if we're not, you know, telling the whole family, just one trusted accountability partner. If you don't feel like you want to tell any of your family, get a therapist, you know, somebody who you can talk with once a week, once every other week, or, you know, just shoot, Facebook is somebody non-biased. Facebook is really good for groups of all type of sorts, you know, who have community for everything. For everything. So I really just recommend finding your community. I think that that is very important. Community who you can be open and vulnerable with, and who you know won't be dismissive or won't be condescending, you know, when you're trying to share your story. And you'll be received fully, you know. So I think that that is very important, to find your village within your MS community or any other disability that might be taking place, to find your people. And it's really good to be around your people because you don't have to explain yourself so much, right? Out compared to what you would to people outside of that community. So yeah, I thank you for sharing that, Miss DestineeRai.
Thank you so much. Thank you for creating a space and using your platform. And it was so welcoming and so inviting. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Of course. We are going to go ahead and wrap up. This is season 3, y'all, of season 4. We're coming to an end of Beauty and Brains podcast, Cognitions of the Creatives. We talked about International Persons with Disabilities Awareness Day with Miss DestineeRai, who is an R&B artist, singer, and songwriter from Lexington, Kentucky. But people know her all around, okay? So don't think it's just in Lexington.
All the way across the ocean.
Period. And back. Destiny, would you like to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes, absolutely. So, everyone, you can find me on all social media platforms at DestineeRai or DestineeRai Music. That is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. You Google it, you will find me also in your musical searches.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Any last words before I get us out of here?
Any last words? Be sure of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. What you give out will come back to you tenfold.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. I love that. And I hope you all received it who are out there listening. Again, this is Chelsea. I go by model Chelsea Talise in the fashion industry. You guys were listening to Beauty and Brains podcast, Cognitions of the Creatives. And y'all just got another good one today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Please stay tuned. Y'all be good out there. Y'all be safe. And we'll talk soon. Peace.
Bye.